Brought to you by BlackMagic Design, the world's highest quality products for the feature film, post and broadcast industries. BlackMagicDesign.com, the Tonkawa Film Festival, celebrating short films from around the world. Tonkawafilmfestival.com. And by Dehancer. Use the promo code RABBIT to receive 10% off Dehancer products. Dehancer.com.
The first film that I saw stars Willem Dafoe, the great Willem Dafoe, and it's called Late Fame. Willem Dafoe plays a character called Ed Saxberger. Ed Saxberger is a middle-aged postal worker. He has a pretty average life. He works, he goes home, he hangs out with his friends at the local pub. Very kind of basic, and he seems pretty happy. Like he's not chronically dissatisfied. He doesn't seem to be longing for anything. And then a young man approaches him outside his house one day and says, I can't believe we live in the same neighborhood. You're Ed Saxberger. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, your book changed my life. And it turns out that Saxberger, back in 1979, had written a book of poetry. And he hung out with all these poets. He moved to New York when he was a young man, lives in Soho. He's got one of the last apartments that somebody could afford in Soho. He still lives there now. And this kid just says, I read your book, it changed my life, and I'm an aspiring poet, and all my friends are also aspiring artists and writers. Would you come, hang with us? The young man called Meyers, played by Edmund Donovan, he is so earnest in his approach, but it's very, he comes off very pretentious in the way he talks, because everything he says sounds like it was written for him. Reluctantly, he goes with this guy, and he meets his friends, and they're all young guys. They're all mainly guys, and they're all aspiring and very earnest about their aspirations. They want to bring, poetry back to the masses. They want to be modern-day beat kind of thing. And so they sort of seduce him. And they puff up his ego, and they tell him how great he is. And after a while, he starts to believe them, And he's like, well, maybe I was a great writer. Maybe I missed something, It's a very interesting tale from both ends. So on his end, on Saxberger's end, it's this guy sort of being reminded of who he used to be and being nostalgic for a life he may or may not have had, because we all romanticize the past, in a way. And for the young guys coming up, it's like, should you put your faith in this mentor? Should you believe in this person? Are you putting too much faith in the word of another? Because they all want his opinion on their works. Yeah. And he's like, I work in a post office. Don't put your faith in me. I'm not a famous poet. At one point, they have a performance kind of thing. There is one key female role that's played by Greta Lee. She plays an actress called Gloria, and she is a character. She's an older woman to these kids, and she sort of hangs out with them, and it has a little flirtation with them. And then she starts has a flirtation with Saxberger. She's a good performer too. We see her in action. She's really, and there's a sort of romance there. Now, I don't know about you, but being of a certain age and having lived in the city as long as I've had and been in theater and the art scene, and and it does come off to me anyway. I don't know how this would be for if I was 22. I don't know if a 22-year-old would get this movie, but for someone who is not 22, you get this very bittersweet kind of. It's a bittersweet story, bittersweet message, and you can kind of feel for both parties. And one of the things that comes out of the movie too is we eventually find out that these kids who hang out in these downtown pubs and stuff and want to be poets, they're all rich. Mm-hmm. They all went to Ivy League schools, and they all are
the new starving artist.
Yeah, the new starving artist lives in a penthouse in Soho,
right? Yeah.
And is that's paid for by mom and dad, and it also is kind of an indictment of the two eras of the guys who came up with nothing and created out of nothing and created it from starvation, basically, to these kids who can't find what to write about because they have nothing. They're not starving. They're not.
Yeah.
They have no conflicts. They can just lay around and think and write all day.
Yeah.
But of course, that makes them complacent because nothing's happened to them yet.
Right. Yeah.
So it really is interesting. It's a very bittersweet kind of thing.
Sounds like it's a movie that you can come into early in life and then come back to later in life and get the perspectives.
I would love to see what like a college student, like one of our interns, would think about this,
Right.
and then you and I looking at it from looking back
Right.
and going, oh yeah, I like because you'll get it.
Right. Yeah.
That's like I think a lot of people, especially people who have come to New York and been through that. Started in New York in your 20s and kind of worked your way up. I feel like that this movie's for you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I also would love to see what, I would love to see what newer, younger people would think of it as well. But it's really good, and I hope it gets distribution. I hope it gets picked up.
Yeah.
I think it will get picked up, if it hasn't already. But yeah, it was delightful. It left me feeling kind of warm and fuzzy, and a little bittersweet at the end of the night.
This is the BTRP Media Network.